Welcome to Toffee TV. Obviously, still a lot of fallout coming out of the 6 teams, whatever you want to call them, trying to leave the Premier League in one way or another. And they just feel like they've got to save football, Baz. They need to save football by setting up their own league that will stop anyone else earning any money and taking all the money away from all the other football clubs. But that will save football.
In all fairness to those 6, that came out of Florentino Perez's mouth about saving football. But they are fully complicit and compliant.
They jumped on it.
Yeah, of course.
Now, I mean, listen, anyone who's followed the Super League thing will understand that. Basically, it was set up by football clubs who've got no money, who are desperate for more money, so they can stay at the top where they belong. But it's bollocks. It's utter bollocks. It's backwards. It's backwards, completely backwards what these football clubs are doing. And there's something that was, you know, we've mentioned it for a long time that it hasn't really been mentioned. But Carlo Ancelotti did mention it. I mean, listen, what you'd expect nothing less.
No.
You'd expect nothing less from Carlo. But Carlo actually muted the words salary cap. And I know that terrifies a lot of, those words terrify a lot of people.
I don't know why,
in fact, I've mentioned it on my Twitter, and I've had people like coming out to defend the players. Oh, but the players, and you're like, what about the players? Like,
you know what I love? The best line have you ever mentioned the salary cap? All the best players will leave and go somewhere else, play somewhere else.
What baseball?
I'm like, where?
Where would they go?
They won't go to Italy.
Yeah.
Because there's not that much money in Italy. The Spanish clubs are skint. You might get one or two that went there.
To be fair.
No, but think of it though, right?
I'm thinking.
Germany don't pay anywhere near that. So where did he go? Where did all these mysterious players go?
To be fair though, right, just before we get into this, if there was going to be a salary cap, I would like it to be across Europe.
Oh, well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. But when people make me laugh though when they go, they'll all get off to place. Where are they all going?
No one's paying anyway. So I personally, we've spoken about this for a while about the salary cap, and to us it makes complete sense because what it would do is it would bring a fairness across the boards. You know, FFP hasn't worked because it's pulled up the ladder behind all the top clubs. It's stopped clubs like Everton from going any further, and not being able to buy the players to get up to those clubs. What a salary cap could do if it was done properly would be for us to have for a scale, and I think players who were good players would still earn a lot of money, no problem. They'd still earn a lot of money from the clubs they play for because, like you've just said, people would be terrified of losing them. They'd still earn a lot of money from endorsements, probably more money from endorsements actually.
Rights, endorsements,
But what it would do is it would bring in, for me, something that we've spoken about before, which is a scale of pay. And I think that's the most important. In any other business, right, you have a scale of pay. You have the guy at the top earning the most money and the guy at the bottom earning the least. And in football, that just seems to go on some kind of weird age scale rather than anything else within a club. It doesn't really work about the best players, you know, and we're terrified of giving brilliant young players big contracts. But we've got no problem giving 29-year-olds who've already had their best time big contracts. I know that's starting to change, but football is weird like that, isn't it?
It is weird because what happens is you get players who are coming to the end of the peak on the most money, where you wouldn't get that anywhere else in any other line of business. Whereas if you were declining, why would you take the most money and your value be the least? You know what I mean? So if you sign a 4-year contract, in your 4th year, your value is nothing really. But you're still earning the most money at the club. So as your value's going down, your contract is like this, where to maintain good business is that your value should be comparable with your contract. I done the Highbury Squad podcast last week, or video, whatever it was. It was a podcast. There was quite a few people on, fans of the big 6 were on. And there was a Tottenham fan, Max, who works in finances as well, and we were talking about a salary cap. Because I was saying that's what needs to come in. He was saying he agreed, but he works in the city, and he was saying there's kind of one of these in the city with the brokers, like a salary cap. But what happens is bonuses take them to big money. He said, but they only get the bonuses when they're performing, which is something I've said. I've got no issue with our club Everton paying Dominic Calvert-Lewin 150 grand a week and a 50 grand bonus for getting a certain amount of goals. If he's getting those goals, if Richarlison's Everton's best player, then I've got no problem if he's performing week after week, getting a good screw. The issue I've got is when players who offer no value to the club are on big money. And that's right across football.
The irony is Spurs had a salary cap and it got them to the Champions League final, essentially. And it was only after the Champions League value that they had to secure Harry Kane, and Harry Kane's value went through the roof, that they had to break their own salary cap. And you can understand that because you can't have, it doesn't really work if one team has it, because then they become, then everyone else can jump in. So they have to break their own because everyone else can break theirs. So you've got a system then which won't work. You want it to work within a club, but it can't. So you have to have this uniformity all over, either a league or over the Europa competitions, whatever it is, that people fall in line in. And I, like you've just said there, like what you want is you want your player, you want your best player to be earning the most money, and you want people at the bottom, who to earn the least money. And there be a scale that is attached maybe to the contract they sign. So if you think they're really valuable, but if you think they're really valuable, and you sign them up and you give them a good contract, then that obviously you're going to give them good wages.
How would you do the salary? I know we've talked about it. We are well aware of MLS and the salary cap that they have. But how would you do? Would you do it as to simplify for everybody the way fantasy football works when you're given 100 million and that's your thing, or would you do it on a wage thing?
For me, it's only a wage.
So if it's not about, so no one can be paid more than 150 grand a week, or
let's
200
just say that.
grand a week.
Let's just say that,
just
right?
for argument's sake.
What I would say is, if you're going to buy somebody as well, what they're worth is worth what is in their contract as well. So if you give somebody a big contract and they're on big wages, then you can value them at their buyout clause has to be a big number as well. So that if you give someone a small contract, then you can't demand ridiculous money for them. So they can go somewhere else and earn good money for someone else. So if you've got like a player in your squad who, and we see this a lot, who you're not utilising, but you're sort of giving them, you'd be giving them good money so someone else wouldn't get them. Well, you can't do that anymore. You'd have to pay them what they, in terms of where they are in the pecking order, so that someone else can come in and go, you know what, we really like you. They don't really like you because they don't play you. We want you in our squad, and we're gonna pay you them some. We're gonna pay you a lot of money, but you're become our most important player.
Because I understand, and that's why I was saying, is it like in your mind, would it work like the fantasy football thing where you've got a pool of money and every club has got that pot of money, 100, I don't know, I'm just going to say 100 million for wages. I know clubs are paying 300 million for wages, so it's different. But say it was 150 million then, somewhere in between for your wage bill. Everybody gets that, and then it's up to you to distribute it. That would, to me, would be the best way to do it. And then Spurs could pay Harry Kane £250,000 a week to keep him because he's their prize asset. But that money has to come out of their wage bill. So a big chunk of, say, what is it, 12, whatever. So say it was, he's on 12 million a year then, so their wage bill's reduced by that. And then they're trying to piece everything else together in the squad to cover that wages. If you can make room for three players on the top money, you do it. And then if I'm a top player at a different club, but I'm only getting 80 grand a week, and you've got spare money, and you go, well, I can give you 150 because you're going to be my top player at my club, I'm more likely to go there, but it's only if I'm going to play. Because you have to, because people will lay a salary cap and go, can't work, it won't work, blah, 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 blah. But the big reason why it's been discussed, and why Carlo Ancelotti's discussed it, is for two reasons. One, to as he said, strengthen the weaker teams. Try and get a bit more of an even keel, so that it's a proper competition. Sorry, I'll just finish. And the second one is to give these clubs these clubs are making huge amounts of money, and huge amounts of money are going out the game.
Yeah.
So if you had the salary cap, there would be more money for these clubs that they wouldn't have to go, right, we're breaking away now to do our own thing.
Well, ultimately, when they keep talking about the problem with Super League, we need more money, there's no more money because you keep giving it away to players. You keep buying,
it's going out the game.
You keep buying players and going, well, there's more money, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter whether it's going out the game or it's staying in the pockets of the players. What I mean is that you keep escalating, you keep chasing all the same players. So therefore you're just escalating their wages. So you make it, all you're doing is inflating the problem as you inflate their wages.
And there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason, because if we brought it back down and went, by the way, you're only going to earn £100,000 a week. What? I'm going to earn that. I'm going to go to those, and that team goes, no, you're only going to earn £100,000 a week. We can sweeten the pot by giving you this bonus or that bonus, but you only get that if you do those things. And if those clubs decided that they were going to take the power back, then it would make it so much better. And like Carlo said, it would strengthen the hand of the middle level teams or the lower team, because we get fair balance. Because if we take FFP away, right, the simple fact is, and these clubs all know it, Man City and Paris Saint-Germain can just do what they want, right? So we have to say, well, that's not fair, is it? Yes, you've got more money. You've got, we understand that some clubs have richer owners than others, but you are, if everyone else stops there, you don't ever stop. You've gone away from everyone else. So we have to make it fair for everyone to say, well, you can't just fill your squad full of amazing players and put them all on huge wages. If you want to try and fill your squad with amazing players, go for it. But you can't pay them what you think you're going to pay them. So City can't have some amazing player on their bench that they bring on now and again, or just save for the Champions League, and the same with Paris Saint-Germain, because the wages don't allow them. You can't have everyone sitting on your bench on 25 players earning £100,000 a week. You just can't. You're going to have to bring in a scale, and if you do that at every club, you're going to start seeing those better players start drift away into other football teams, and then suddenly they become the most important player at that football team. And then the likes of Everton have a chance then of bringing in some half-decent player that was doing well for City, but will do amazingly well for Everton. And everyone then...
And not having to pay 300 grand a week for them.
Then the quality starts to creep up everywhere.
You've got to take your hat off, your Everton hat off, or your Man United hat, or your Liverpool hat, or whatever. If you can just do it and step up. Because we're all selfish. We all want...
Of course we are.
We all want our team winning stuff. We all want our team to be the best. But if you're talking about the good of the game and what is the best way to come to this, you being the best team, is that if that league's kind of equalish, then if you rise
and the Champions League's equalish,
and the Champions League is like that, it really does become about the best managers and the best players, and that isn't always. Real Madrid, you said it when we done stuff on Perez. Real Madrid tried it with no consequences. Galacticos, now they had some amazing footballs, but they didn't dominate, did they?
No,
they didn't dominate.
No, didn't win. Won one league.
Exactly. So therefore, they obviously didn't have the best manager who could get them that balance together, or the players weren't hungry. I want a league where we're all given pretty much the same tools, and it's can we get the right squad blend? Can we get the right players together? And I think there's room for that.
Because though, and I think this is where the optimism comes from my point of view, is those teams you've just been talking about, I think, or the fans of those teams would have said for a while, we're not doing that. Why should it be a race to the bottom? Well, we've just seen what happens when there's a race to the top. There's nothing up there.
No.
There's nothing up there. All there is, and I'll say it again, and it's funny because one of these sub-clubs wasn't even involved, it's just Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City, because they're owned by countries. That's all there is. If you allow them, if you're a Liverpool fan or a Man United fan or an Arsenal fan or even a Real Madrid fan, if you were to take a step back, you can't compete with those clubs. You just can't. If they take FFP off the table, which they will, you can't compete with those clubs. It's as simple as that. So if your solution is a Super League, which is a closed shop, that the outrage, we've seen the outrage from the fans of these clubs.
Some more than others.
Some more than others. You can't compete with those clubs.
No.
So therefore, we've seen what the race to the top is, and there's nothing there.
No.
There's an empty league where you all play each other. And
you got loads. Well, you haven't got loads of money. The clubs have got loads of money.
Where the ticket prices will go through the roof, and there'll be no normal football. I don't even think this is a wage cap. Is that maybe beforehand people would have gone, that's to help Everton.
What's the point?
It's not to help us. We're in the Champions League, blah blah blah. But it would make the Champions League better because there'd be more clubs who were on an even keel. So it would help a Liverpool out. It would help an Arsenal.
Are you looking at this from, just as we're having this conversation, are you looking at this purely from Everton's perspective?
No.
Or are you just looking at it as people who love footy and just to go, we just want it more balanced, don't we?
I very rarely sit round thinking, how can Everton benefit from this? Because I know we're not at the top table, so it's not. I don't think a salary cap will enable Everton to get back to the top table or be at the top table.
Only getting the right players.
Exactly.
And the right blend
I don't think of it like that. I think I look at the Super League situation and go, that's just going to destroy football. And actually, even the mention of Super League, I think, has destroyed football if it keeps going. It means nothing. It means because all it was the worst of two evils. And everyone was looking at the Super League going, oh, that's terrible. While the Champions League, these teams are still going to get massive benefits from just saying we were going in the Super League.
They couldn't lose.
No. So everyone's going to bend over for these teams eventually now. They're going to bend over backwards for them. They've already have with the Champions League. And so we know that these clubs are going to get more games in the Champions League. The Champions League will be put on a higher pedestal. There'll be more money put into it. And these clubs will come back into the Premier League and batter us all around the head with the more money they've got anyway. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I just think this...
Won't be the riches of the Super League, though.
I just think... Of course. But I just think this is something that, to me, saves football. Because football will eat itself. It will eat it. It will... No matter which road you get on, if it continues on this path, it will still end up with a few rich teams. And all the clubs for over the years who thought they were great will end up looking like idiots because they decided to look at something which is just, they think self-serving. It will destroy them. It will destroy everything.
I mean, some of the things that Florentino Perez said last week were right. The odd thing. One of them is kids are losing interest in football. Because there's other things.
Yeah, well,
there's many other things to do now. So any interest they have in football, they can play FIFA. If they've got an interest in footy, they can, do whatever. But there's so many other things for kids to do now. So you risk losing kids. If something becomes stagnant and stale, people will switch off from it. But it's changing.
But you just said the perfect words. Switch off from it. Do you know why? Because football, at the heart of it, isn't a brilliant television game, right? When we watch football on the television, we're looking at it through the eyes of people who go to the match, right? So we bring those experiences with us as we're watching it. It's your mind creates that, but we've been in the game. It's like watching a theme park ride that you've never been on. You've watched it. If you've been on it and experienced it, you can watch it on
TV.
You can watch it on YouTube and go feel the emotions and know the turns and everything and know what that feels like to be the drop. But if you're just watching it without that, it's
hollow.
It's hollow and it's a flat experience.
Visual, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just a visual experience. And that's where kids... When I was a kid, I went to match. And oftentimes I got bored because you're a kid. But you're there and you keep going. And you keep going and you're there and you've got nothing else to do while you're there. Or you might find something else to do while you're there. You might go downstairs and have a kickabout or something. I used to do that all the time. You're a kid now who can't afford to go to the game. Your parents can't afford to take them. Or your parents have to work because of all the unsociable times football's now on.
Yeah.
If you're watching it and you're like, do you know what? I've lost my attention for this. I'm just going to stick YouTube on. Or I'm going to play the game on FIFA. Then, yes, that's why we are losing kids. We're losing kids because they're not getting taken to games by their parents. They're not experiencing it. They're not understanding what it's like to walk into a football crowd and see the players walk out and get that raw and get the feeling of what it's like to be at the match. You might not even understand it. You might not even be able to follow it, but your senses are just overloaded.
I track, haven't I? And at the start of this, he'd sit and watch the match with me. And then he'd like get up and go in the garden, have a few shots and come back in because his mind's wandering. He's a season ticket holder. Now, I mean, he has it on, but he's doing other stuff. Yeah. Because we haven't been for over a year because of lockdown. So he's a 10-year-old kid. His mind's on other stuff. I'll play this, I'll do that. He still loves it. He has his Everton kit on. He goes out in the garden for ages with the ball. But him actually being invested in it because it's been that long away from going. Now he's excited to go back, but whereas I couldn't switch the match off and go and do something else because I'd be thinking, what's happening? It's bad enough when we were watching the match in here. I went to the toilet the other night. I was thinking, oh my God, I come back in, open that user's still happy. You know, it's that kind of thing. And you're right, kids and other people who...
My missus has been on for 35 years. She barely watches the games.
Because there's no investment in it. But people who don't get to watch it and the audience around the world, which is far more important to these people than what us as match-going fans are, and match-going Arsenal fans and match-going United, Liverpool, all of them, the people who are watching everywhere else are more important to these people because they're trying to create the ultimate TV sport. You've heard Perez saying, maybe we have to shorten the games to keep people's attention. When you start messing around with that stuff, that's where it's going. And we have to grab this opportunity now. And we need responsible people who aren't self-serving to go, no, let's save this magnificent thing that it was, this pure thing of, it's a game, it's a competition, you can, with luck and with everything else, you can overcome that boss team. And it's not always because they're just constantly going like that every single summer with money.
And yet the dream of all those people who watch on TV is to get to a game.
It's to go to a game,
get to a game, isn't it? And, you know, I just think there has to be this. I look at there's all the solution. The solution is fate. The solution is screaming at them in the face. It's screaming at them. If you haven't got enough money, take the money back. If you really haven't got money,
no one can force it.
No, and the only way to get that uniformity, like we were saying there, is to do it everywhere. And it can't be a gentleman's agreement. You can't have a load of teams going, yeah, we'll speak to this fella and we'll offer them exactly, because one of them will offer them more. They just always will because of the greed factor. They'll try and make that money up somewhere down the road. Nowhere they always try and make it up through us as fans. We will always suffer from this. So if you're a fan, every fan should be behind this, especially every match-going fan. You know, every match-going fan, because people go, oh, they're not going to lower the ticket prices. Maybe they won't lower the ticket prices, but they'll certainly only go one way.
But there's enough money in the game to pay players massive wages. Well, good wage. What's the alternative? What's the alternative? Go and get a job driving a delivery van for Asda or whatever at 20 grand a year if it's that much, whatever. Or earn 100 grand a week or 80 grand a week playing footy. You know what I mean? People going out to work, people working 40 hours a week for, and I know people are looking, oh, yeah, well, that's not comparable. No, but I'm just saying, when people tell me that footballers won't accept it, of course they will if everyone does it. The thing is, there's enough money for football clubs to pay players good wages, us to have good facilities, not to be ripped, and them to still make big profits. There's enough money in the game, there's enough television demands it, there's everything, it's all spinning. Stop paying higher and higher and higher and higher, because there's really nowhere to go.
And if
you do it and get a grip of it now, we still might have a chance. Let me ask you this before we finish. What's more exciting to you? And this is where I think, dare I say it, American sports have actually got it right. NFL, there's a different winner virtually every year because I know they have player trades and stuff like that. They have trade day and players get moved around and stuff. But that to me is more exciting. Wouldn't the Premier League be more exciting if you couldn't call it every summer? If it was won by United, Liverpool, Man City, then like Everton and Aston Villa and then Tottenham and you just couldn't call it because in general everyone was kind of playing within the same rules and you had to just try to make it, and it was the randomness of it was put together by good coaches and good managers rather than one team going, well, we can't really compete with them because they've just got too much money. Well, that's not sport, is it? To me, that isn't sport. Someone having much more than anybody else and then playing in the same competition and going, we're better than you. And it's like, well, you are, because why do we all resign ourselves when we play Man City? We go, got City, haven't we? Look at their bench. They've got him. I've said this, I use this analogy all the time. It's like owning a mansion and going and asking the homeless person what they've got. You know, and then laughing at them because they haven't got as much as you. And that's what these big clubs do. They play and go, pat you on the head, the fans of these big clubs. You haven't won that trophy. Well, no, mate, you've only won it because you've had that. You know, it's all of the same thing. And if we could somehow wrestle a little bit of that money back, and let's try to balance this up, because it'll create a much more exciting thing for everybody.
Yeah,
it'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
The problem is, some of these people in these places don't want that. They just want the same people being there because they're the ones who get the clicks.
But what will happen soon is those same people will find themselves way down in the pecking order because they won't be able to afford. They won't be able to afford it. They simply won't. The money is running out for the Barcelonas of the world, the Real Madrids of the world, the Juves of the world. These people who...
The 6 Premier League clubs, we seen in debt last week. They're all in debt. Every one of them. Man City. But I know, but the ones that are overseas, they're in massive debt, and they don't have a league like ours, which will keep paying. Money. But we won't have that soon. We won't have it because people will start switching off from the game if just because of the way it's going, because of all the things, kick-off times. But the flip to that is Perez again has said they're coming back. Well, they can't leave the league. They're coming back. So.
Put it this way: if you give me the choice, well, I'd have salary cap every day. But if you were to give most people common sense the choice between football going down one route, which is a salary cap, or going down the Super League route, there's only one way for me. So,
trying to save the whole thing.
Trying to save the whole thing. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on this as well. Do you think a salary cap should be brought into football, certainly in Europe? If you've got any thoughts.
And a spend cap maybe as well. Any
thoughts on how you think it should work? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more great videos, join us over on Patreon. The link is on the screen now. See you later.